Hey, it's Jason, and welcome back to Talk Time with J. Allen Photography. We are on episode 24, and I'm broadcasting this from my brother-in-law's basement. Yeah, so that's basically I've been demoted down to the basement. It is what it is, but I noticed the podcast last week basically had kind of an echo. There wasn't a whole lot of carpet where I recorded it before. Not that the audio is ever the greatest thing about this podcast, but I felt like the echo was just a little bit much, maybe a little hollow sounding. So I wanted to come down to the basement. We've got a lot more sound dampening, sound deadening down here. And I think it'll sound a little bit better. So still in Colorado Springs. I will actually be out of town for another week and a half. I need to actually get 2 episodes recorded today because I'm not going to be able to do that next week. I've got my dog that I'm dog sitting down at my feet. She's kind of wanting to play. She's shaking things around, so we'll see how this episode goes. So far in Colorado Springs, I've been able to really kind of relax, get caught up on my work, not really ahead of my work, but as far as like the YouTube channel goes, I do have a couple videos out, already scheduled out for the next couple weeks, but I don't have a whole lot shot. I've actually only got a couple more shot that I need to get edited, but at least I'm not like stressed or pressured to get the videos done. I don't have clients waiting on photos, which is always a good thing. And I typically don't have that. I typically don't have people waiting. I like to get those photos out fairly quick. So it's not like I had a lot of people waiting, but I just had clients all the way up until the time I left. And so I just have been able to get all that done, taken care of, get the edits out. It was really cool. I got here on Saturday, and Sunday night I was actually scheduled for a shoot with a dancewear group ambassadors. And I think I mentioned that in the podcast last week, but it was really cool being able to get that shoot out. Make a little bit of money while I'm here in Colorado too is always nice. Tonight I actually scheduled a session with one of the dancers that wasn't actually able to make it to that session. And so we're going to do a modeling/dance session tonight, but I'm actually going to record it for YouTube. And apparently the location is pretty cool. It's got like a worn down, dilapidated type castle in some natural area just south of Denver. So I'm really excited about that. And yes, I'm shooting it for YouTube. So fingers crossed that we have good weather and we're actually able to make it work. But I mentioned a few seconds ago that, I don't try to let my clients wait on photos, right? I try to get them out as soon as possible. And typically, just to explain that, I try to get my turnaround time right around 24 to 48 hours. And so typically I tell people 48 hours that they get to see a raw gallery. And for the most part, I'm on top of that all the time. And that basically requires me to go out and shoot. I come back and I work through that gallery probably within the next 12 to 16 hours. And I call the images. I do a color correct. I don't do any editing other than culling and color correcting and then pulling out like missed shots, out of focus shots, or anything like that. But the goal is always to get it within 48 hours. And so then I tell my clients, once I get it to you, it's on you to select your images because I allow my clients to select images, which that's a thing some photographers don't do. Some photographers are the ones that pick the images. I don't do that. I let them select. And so again, 48 hours for my turn time. My clients get the images and then they look and my schedule is now on them. But what I do tell them is once you've actually made your selections, then I give myself another 72 hours to get them edited. And, that's basically 3 days. So if I've got other clients, I can work those other clients in that time. So I'm really able to get my workout within 5 days of shooting minus the time that it takes them to select. So sometimes if they select them that night, they're able to get the photos within the next 2 days. Really depends on my schedule. I've actually had some where I go out and do the shoot. I come back because I have nothing else going on. I call the images. I get them out the gallery that night. They make their selections that night, and they have their edited photos the next day. Why do I tell you all this? It's not to brag, but it is one of the things that I've done with my photography to set myself apart. And so that's what I want to talk about in this episode is what do you do or what can you do to set yourself apart as a photographer? There are plenty of photographers out there, good, bad, medium, plenty of photographers out there for clients and potential clients to book. And, what is it that you're going to do? What is it that you do that makes you different, that makes you want people to hire you? One of mine is the turnaround time. One of mine is I feel like my images have a specific look. And that's something that I've really tried to hone and fine tune over the last 5 years is I want people to recognize my look right away. Another thing that I do is I do dance photography. So dance photography, I think, is still a very much a niche type photography. There's not a lot of dance photographers. There's people that can take pictures of a dancer. And I'm not saying that. I think any photographer can go out and take a picture of a dancer. Maybe not an action shot, but maybe a pose. But the action shots are kind of where it's at. And also being able to get the dancer at a specific moment in time or in a specific pose, accentuating their lines is what they call it. And I've gotten better at that. I didn't understand at first what I was doing. I was just shooting it like as a portrait, trying to make it look cool with composition and leading lines and framing and all that. But, I don't want to get into dance photography, but I just want to get into, that's one of the things that sets me apart is I really do specialize more as a dance photographer. So where if somebody's looking for pictures of their dancers, they're going to go more to maybe somebody that actually knows what they're doing with dance. And that's really kind of what I've tried to do is set myself up as a dance photographer. And in San Antonio, there's more than 3, but there's 3 dance photographers, at least in the social media realm, that push their work out. And so when it comes to dance photography in San Antonio, I'm one of the leading brands because my name's out there. So what are you doing to set yourself apart? I remember when I kind of first came back to photography, I still wasn't kind of understanding exposure and lighting. But one thing that I did know I wanted to do because I loved how it looked was I wanted to learn off-camera flash photography. And the main reason that I did that, and I mentioned it a few minutes ago, was I wanted to set myself apart. Shooting natural light photography is not easy. It's a skill all into itself, and I think that there are plenty of really good, outstanding natural light photographers. One of my favorites is Irene Rudnick. I don't know if you watch her on YouTube, but she is fantastic with her work. She shoots primarily natural light. And there are others, but, I didn't want to do that. I really wanted to create my own look with off-camera flash and strobe in general. But that's really what I wanted to do, and I wanted to set myself apart. Because as a natural light photographer, you're kind of limited, especially in that newer phase of your photography. I think that as you continue to grow as a natural light only photographer, you start to learn more the good times when you can shoot, how to get around bad lighting and stuff like that. And so you can definitely do it and be good at it. But I think that introducing off-camera flash to my work has helped me not only be able to shoot natural light at specific times of day, but I can also shoot off-camera flash at other times of day where natural light photographers, especially the newer ones or the beginning ones, they can't necessarily do that. They don't understand lighting. They don't understand good exposure. And so it helped me even though I was still a beginner at that time, but I was able to learn it fairly quickly. Within a year, within a year of watching YouTube videos on what I was doing. I still don't know that I fully understood the exposure triangle, but I was starting to understand lighting, and then things started to click for me. But again, I really kind of set myself up as an off-camera flash photographer just to make my work look different, make my work stand out. And it did help. I was getting recognized by some of the local photographers who had schools. So they were basically reaching out to me saying, hey, can you come teach some of your lighting techniques? And I was like, all right, that's freaking cool. That's awesome. I never thought that that would be the case, especially only after like a year of me doing it. I still didn't know like the technical terms, but I knew how to do it. And so that's one of the things that I did to set myself up. But again, kind of the other thing, and I've mentioned it already, is the dance photography and my turnaround time. But I think that there's plenty of other ways that I set myself up from other photographers. But I those are kind of subjective. I think one of the ways that I set myself up differently is my personality when I'm out on the shoot. And I remember I went, let's see here. I was out shooting a session. My session ended, and as I'm packing up, I see a mom and her daughter waiting to do their session. And so their photographer was running late, but I didn't actually know. So the mom was actually like taking pictures of the daughter, and she was a senior. So I could tell she was a senior. She had her cap and gown stuff. And I was just like, hey, I'm a photographer. I don't mind taking the pictures. I'll give a couple of them to you for free. And so we shot for like 5 or 6 minutes, and it was fun. It was cool. Her photographer showed up, and he was just, I'm not mentioning names, honestly, because I've forgotten the name at this point, but he was so boring. Like he looked like he was pissed off from the get-go, not at me, but just like his situation. And I overheard him explaining his situation, but he just didn't have, he was letting his prior circumstance kind of ruin that session. That senior, that mom didn't necessarily fully care about why he was pissed off or why he was upset. They just wanted to have a session. And I think that you always need to be ready, always need to put out your best foot when you're doing your session, right? And you can't let that other stuff bog you down. You've got to always show that best step. Kind of like you're dating, right? You want to make that great first impression. And I think that what I bring to the table is something from my personality, something that's out there. And I think that's easy enough for every photographer to do in order to set themselves apart, is bring your A game all the time. You might not necessarily be the best photographer. You might not necessarily be an off-camera flash photographer. You might not have the quickest turn time. Those things come in time. But you can always bring your A game when it comes to your attitude, your behavior, your personality. And, I used to watch a lot more of him, but Manny Ortiz, when he was doing his YouTube channel at the beginning, he did a lot more stuff, but he mentioned that he's an introvert and that he does struggle a lot of times reaching out to clients or interacting with clients. And maybe that's you. Maybe you're an introverted person. I'm an extroverted person. And so it's easier for me to open up and, just be boisterous and have a great personality and whatever it is while I'm out there, have fun with it. So if that's not you, then you still need to figure out how you can charge up enough, because I know like those introvert type people, to have that interaction kind of drains that battery. And so what you really need to do is figure out how you can get charged up, do your shoot, and then come back and recharge, right? But you've got to make those impressions with your clients. Those are ways that you can stand out and get that strong word of mouth. Word of mouth still works. And I think like Facebook is still a great location for people to pass around. Hey, work with this guy, work with this guy. Especially for people that are more my age, they do that a lot more often. If they're sharing the pictures, people are going to be like, oh, these are great photos, blah, 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 whatever. That's where you say, hey, this guy's pretty good. He's fun to work with. But what are you doing to stand out? And so, again, to stand out, you have to be different. There are, like I said, there are so many photographers out there, plenty that are going to be cheaper. There's going to be some that are more expensive. But to get the right clients that you need to stand out. And let me rephrase that. Not that that's not necessarily the case. You just need to make an impression, right? And it needs to be a good impression. You're always going to make an impression when you shoot with somebody. Now, are you going to dictate that impression? You don't want to get out there and the impression that you made is that you're nonchalant, you don't really care, this is just a business, this isn't something that you are passionate about, this isn't something that you enjoy, this is something that you're doing for money. I don't feel like I ever come off that way. I'm trying not to have no self-awareness on this. I know that there are times that I've done a session and maybe my heart hasn't always been in it. I'm not saying that I'm the best that there's ever been every time I go out. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that I do my best to make the best impression. You have to let your clients know that you absolutely love what you do. And I think people can tell. People are very good at those impressions. People are very good at seeing through fake. And so one of the things that you can control while you're learning to be a better photographer is you can control you. You can control your personality. You can control what level you're coming to these sessions at. Don't come bland. Don't come unpassionate. Don't come thinking this is just money. These are people. You're creating memories for these people. And so bring yourself, work yourself up. If you're that introverted person, work yourself up. Get ready for this session. Make this all about them, because that's what it's all about, is them. And that's something that I love doing. That's something that I really especially like, because I primarily work with seniors, man. This is all them, right? They're getting ready they're finishing one thing, they're starting a new thing. And it's like, dude, this is all you. We're going to make you as beautiful as possible. I'm just the tool. This is all you. And that's what you need to bring. I think you need to bring, this is the most important thing you could be doing right now with your time, is creating something for them. If you're not the best photographer, if you're just learning, if you don't know anything about off-camera lighting, if you don't have fast turn times, you'll get there. But what you do have is your own personality, your own internal drive, your temperament, your attitude, your behavior. Control all of those and make every session the best session that you've had, but more so the best session that they will ever have. That way, when it comes time for the next year or when they have a momentous occasion, they're like, you know what? Let's go to that guy because that was fun. We had a good time. The session to me should always be, whether it's an equally divided, a fantastic time and fantastic photos, but more so because I think the business of photography is more about that, the memories created rather than the photos created, because there are plenty of bad photographers that get a lot of work. So they don't necessarily need to have the best photos, but they're creating something, right? And I don't necessarily think it's cheap or low cost photos, because I think that people can see. We need to give clients the benefit of the doubt that they understand that photos are good and photos are bad, and not all photos are good, and not all photos are not all cheap photographers are going to give you high quality, right? So they're going to see that. But what they're really going to remember is those memories. And so I think what you do is especially as you're learning, you control the thing that you can control the most, and that's yourself. So I don't know if you stuck around with me for this whole one, but I feel like maybe I jumped around a little bit. But I do truly believe that you have to set yourself apart from everybody else, because there are so many photographers out there, good, bad, medium, and you need people to want to come back to you. And the best way that you can do that, I think, is to put your best foot forward every time. Make that session the best session that they will ever have, and make it your best session, because that's what you can control. You can't fully control everything else, but create those memories for them. Thanks for listening. I really do appreciate it. This is episode 24, and we are living the dream, right? So until next time, keep shooting.